This video was entirely generated by the deepfake model of Argil AI. It allows you to generate videos of yourself in any language in less than 2 minutes. You can also translate your production at the speed of light and distribute your content worldwide.
So real quick, I know we just talked about this topic, but after seeing that video, I figured I should mention it. I'm telling you, we're entering some strange times. Yes, we're entering a time of the simulacrum, which is a vague representation of reality, but it's not reality, it's anti-reality, a phantom image of life, and this will most certainly be used for political purposes. Regarding this technology, I don't know what's worse to think about. Governments around the world fomenting civil unrest with the push of a button and a carefully timed AI video. Or perhaps the consequences to personal relationships and human connection. Or the fact that we might witness the end of human history as we know it, because we can no longer tell what's real or not. And well, if you haven't watched that yet, give it a try. I was trying to articulate just how drastic the changes to our understanding of reality will be. And well, I gave it my best shot. Let me know what you think. All I know is that the implications of this technology go far beyond what we have discussed. It is quite the existential problem. But anyway, I know. We've already talked about that quite a bit, so let's move on. I do have a little personal update. After a couple weeks, the new laptop finally came, so I should be good to go from here on out. And we're going to start off with some current events just to, get back into the rhythm. However, in a separate video, we're probably going to have to go over some war updates. I mean, we have a lot of stuff happening on that front. We have to talk about Israel-Palestine, the pending invasion of Rafah, Ukraine, the terror attack in Russia, which I do have a lot of questions about. However, I think I should wait to see what develops. And that's because I'm anticipating some new revelations. We are not getting the full story on that. Not yet anyway. We'll see.
Drone! Fuck! Suicide drones! Turn the fucking gas on!
However, one thing I noticed while just waiting around for the last week is that the news cycle moves very damn fast. Every single story I had saved and everything I had written out is kind of old news. However, a few things did stick out, and so why don't we start with this? It does seem that on a long enough timeline, every conspiracy theory might be proven to be true. This one, well, we all know it's true anyway, but it's funny to see them finally admit it. Yes, that's right, the deep state is real, and apparently, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's right. They claim that the administration state is just there to protect democracy. I mean, of course, didn't you guys realize that people like Victoria Nuland or John Podesta, well, all these years, they were just out there protecting democracy. That's all. Yeah, okay. Anyway, we see this happen quite often. They start off by telling you it's not real and you're just a crazy person, and eventually they transition to, alright, fine, it is happening, it's real, but it's actually good for you. Almost every damn time. I do have a couple perfect examples. Inflation, it's not happening. The economy is doing great. Alright, fine, inflation is happening, but it's transitory. To finally, inflation is actually good for you, and you should be happy that it's happening. Alright then. And then we have the bugs. However, they added a little twist. So they start off, we're not trying to get you to eat bugs. Alright, fine, we want you to eat the bugs, but it's actually better for you anyway. And then finally, if you disagree with eating bugs, well, then you're a racist. Yeah, they do this with everything. And on top of that, I don't know why, but the wording of the New York Times article about the deep state reminded me of one by Joe Biden back in the 1990s, entitled, How I Learned to Love the New World Order. I mean, what can you even say, right? Anyway, the deep state is obviously real. There are bureaucrats, lobbyists, and staff members that transcend administrations. They are quite literally always there. But the real key is foreign policy. Domestic policies can vary, slightly, but foreign policy, yeah, that's the foundation to the establishment. Now we just have to go back to George H.W. Bush, because I believe he's the one that really, set us off in this direction.
A new world order can emerge, a new era.
A new world order.
It is a big idea. A new world order.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
We could argue about that, though. Don't get me wrong. We could argue about that, as there are plenty of good arguments claiming this goes back much, much further. Regardless, from H.W. to Clinton to George W. Bush to Obama, they all followed the same foreign policy, in pursuit of the 7 nations in 5 years. Or, some kind of iteration of it.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld, and he says, "We've made the decision, we're going to war with Iraq." I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, "I don't know." He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, "I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
Now, we did get a little break, but then Joe Biden came in and continued on with the establishment's foreign policy. And here we are, on the brink of World War, with everything burning down around us. These initiatives, mostly military and intel, can take a decade or more to play out. Some of these people have been working on projects for their entire careers. And so, when someone comes in and threatens their career, their legacy, or their vision, well, what happens? Yeah, they undermine them. That's the basis for the deep state theories, and it's undoubtedly true. Speaking of manipulation and subversion, hallmarks of the deep state, you probably heard about the bloodbath scandal that the media tried whipping up with an out-of-context clip of Trump. Well, a few days later, Google changed the definition of it to exclude the aspect relating to the economy. And we were just talking about this too. The entire world is fake right now, from crime stats to medical definitions, all the way to political and economic terms. It's all being changed to fit their cultural revolution imperative. And keep in mind, reality has no bearing on their narratives. Alright, moving on. What's next? Well, Haiti collapsed again. And with videos of cannibalism emerging, the controlled media jumped into action to defend eating humans. Yeah. Now, I just thought this one was kind of funny. One example came from the New Scientist, and I quote, "Cannibalism was surprisingly common among prehistoric humans, and new ways of analyzing the leftovers challenge our negative stereotypes about this taboo subject." Yes, why don't we challenge the negative stereotypes about cannibalism? Great idea. We talked about this before, or really joked about it, but this new form of scientism is bringing us back to paganism, and I believe we're seeing this happen in real time. From their social agenda to climate change, they are certainly gaining a, religious fervor. Blasphemous heathens, I tell you. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we see this in the future from organizations like the New Scientist. So, here's a fake quote I made up because I thought it was funny. "In our next issue, we'll dive into the taboo subject of human sacrifice. Our negative stereotypes have angered the sun god, and it's time to throw babies into volcanoes again. After all, a new study revealed that experts believe it's the only way to stop climate change." So yeah, give it a couple years and we might see that come to fruition. And if you think about it, it does kind of solve multiple problems. It further entrenches people into their death cult and solves overpopulation with one fell swoop. I mean, come on, naturally I'm kidding. Throwing people into volcanoes to appease the gods, a solution we need. Sponsored by Pfizer. Alright, so up next we have a story about an AI extinction level event. Yes, the powers that be ordered a study to be done regarding AI safety, and I quote, "The United States must move decisively to avert an extinction level event from AI." Now once again, this is government commissioned, and I do have a few questions. Well, I should say I'm suspicious of this for a couple reasons. Number one, it's showcased by Time Incorporated, a major globalist organization. Number two, the study was sponsored by the State Department, where Secretary of State Antony Blinken is a Trilateral Commission member. And then number three, the authors of this study were formerly associated with Sam Altman of OpenAI and ChatGPT. So, in other words, they are technocrats who may be freaking out over the monster they have created. If you remember, a few of the engineers tried to perform, a coup of sorts and get Sam Altman removed from the board, claiming that they saw something that threatened humanity itself. So, something to keep an eye on, that's for sure. Moving on, I want to talk about something that doesn't really get a lot of attention, but it should. The war on food. The protests against Agenda 2030 continue throughout Europe. One of the great things about the Great European Farmers' Revolt is its relentless character. Hardly a day passes by without some group of hardworking people from some European country getting in the face of authorities. And the reason is because farmers in Europe are currently getting a heavy dose of technocracy. They are now fighting for their livelihoods. And a quote from one of the protesters, "We cannot live, we are being strangled." And yes, they are, by design. After the epic general strike about 2 weeks ago, the Polish farmers are out in force again. This time they're not concentrated as an army, but peppered around the country in about 600 different protests. These farmers are taken to the streets by tens of thousands all across Europe. And the crazy thing is, as they are being sprayed with tear gas, they decided to spray the police with liquid manure. So yeah, there you go. Yet for all their efforts to be heard, EU technocrats could care less because of course, the science is clear. Control the food, control the people. Now personally, I believe it's deliberate. I believe they are deliberately creating a situation that could lead to global famine, as the same policies are levied on farmers worldwide. It's true, if you control the food, you definitely control the people. And that's ultimately the end goal. All around the world, unelected bureaucrats from the UN and the World Economic Forum are waging a war against farming. And they are trying to seize control of the global food supply under the banner of Agenda 2030. And the United States is not immune to this. Did you know that from 2017 to 2022, we lost 140,000 farms? Now, I don't know. I'm not a farmer, but that can't be good. So, we have Agenda 2030 coupled with the war on carbon and nitrogen-based fertilizers on the one hand. And on the other, we have the massive consolidation of the food chain into 6 giant global corporations. And this is proving to be an existential threat. But keep in mind, it's all connected. The attacks on our food systems, AI, the speech regulation, the central bank digital currency, digital ID, and of course, these surveillance networks like facial recognition and smart cities. I could go on, but it's all culminating into a technocratic society. The thing is, with technocracy comes transhumanism, as they are both interwoven with each other. They both hold the same mechanistic worldview about the utopian and what I believe the dystopian future. This radical worldview clashes with over 95% of the world, and yet is every bit as tyrannical as anything we've seen in history. In fact, I would argue this would be the most tyrannical system ever conceived of by man. And that's saying something. Anyway, that's all I have for you tonight. And I do have a few ideas for some big videos coming up too. So, until next time, once again this is HelioWave. If you like the content, like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video if you want to. If you're in a position to, consider subscribing on Locals or Subscribestar. As always, make sure you disobey those true fascistas, and yes, I do hope you have a good night.